So Bitcoin is now floating around 65K. It's actually dipped just underneath and it's hit zone 1 of our pullback zone that I was talking about yesterday on our show. It was a possible area of interest for us. And now we've witnessed an alt bleed out as well. There's been a little bit of pain in the market, a bit of squeaky bum time. So we got a lot to talk about today. And our big focus now that I've got for you guys today is the Solana situation. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, you're going to have to stick around. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this. And I'm going to give you some areas of interest for Solana, and then I'm going to obviously cover this HBAR story and give you a few areas of interest on a couple of other things. So stick around, guys. We've got a lot to talk about here today. So we absolutely nailed this meme run yesterday. We were talking about a potential pump on these meme coins, and they really delivered. And two of the big surprises, or not major surprises for me, but it was WIF and it was BONK. They were absolutely flying, and maybe it had something to do with this current Solana situation. But I found it really interesting that BONK did 31% versus WIF today that only did 15. And I'm saying only, because we used to much bigger moves out of these meme coins. But it was very nice to see BONK coming alive again. And we actually thought that one had started dying a slow death. And now, Banter Bubbles, look at this situation, this HBAR story, 34% up. I actually don't know why it is still up. I'm going to tell you guys why this whole thing is a little bit fishy at the moment. And then the rest of the market looking red, but we were having a great morning. I must tell you, I felt very clever earlier today when my fetch long started popping through resistance and flying. I felt like the most incredible trader in history. And now they've come and they've totally round tripped me. And now I'm actually underwater on fetch. So I'm going to show you my current fetch trade. And I'm also about to get hammered on a Doge trade. So I'm going to pull that one up for you guys as well, and then I'm going to tell you my plan and how I'm going to navigate this whole thing. So a lot has happened in the last couple of hours. It was very exciting, and now it's getting a little bit messy, but we're going to go through all of that together. Let's just look at BTC right now. And yesterday we were talking, it was looking okay sitting up here in this region, but we did have a lot to deal with. We had the 50-day MA, we had a trend, we had 618, we had a big area here of resistance that we had to pay attention to, and we had to start planning yesterday for a potential pullback. And what did we get? Well, they started melting us down now in the last couple of hours, and we are looking at the 382 region of interest for me, and this was zone number 1. So here we are right now, pushing into the 382. Are we there yet? Is this move over? I actually don't think so. I think we do really have to come in and ping this 382 fib properly here. So 64,350, 64,400 for me. This is going to be a huge area now. We want to see this one ping properly now, and we want to bounce here. And I'm currently planning for this type of situation now on Prime XBT. So you can see what I've done here. Number one, you can see my Doge trade. I'm heavily underwater now. This was a Doge trade I was taking on the back of this meme action yesterday. And now with this current meltdown, we are at a pressure point on Doge. I'm almost at the point now where I'm going to be stopped out. So we're going to watch that now. A little bit more downside there, and that Doge trade is going to get cut for me. And then with regards to Bitcoin, I've started laddering into a position on this 382 level. I want to back this area for myself for a bounce. So you can see I've got my first buy in, and then I've got a little buy lower down on that 382. So I'm looking for a move into that 382. That should grab my BTC, and then if all goes well, we should get some type of reversal there. If not, we're going to be potentially visiting lower levels, and we're going to need to plan accordingly for that. So number one area that I'm watching now is this 382. So keep your eyes on this 64,300 to 64,400, and then lower down we've got the big dog, and the big dog is now tied in the 618. It's tied in with a 786 and horizontals as well. So the 62K needs to be on the table now. We can't say, we're out of the woods now. And, let's see what happens at this 618 level at 62K. It's got to be on the table now. Get it on your charts and pay attention to it, because that could be the next big reaction zone if we start losing more levels on BTC. And then when do we turn bullish again? Well, number one, we need to reclaim this big support that we have now lost. So even if we push into 65,600, 65,700, we can't get that excited. This is just a bounce then into a resistance zone, and what they could be teeing us up for is a little bit more downside. So look out for something along these lines, maybe a little turn over there on Bitcoin. So pay attention now. That's going to be a big area for us now, 65,600 to 65,700. When do we turn bullish? Well, we need to crack this zone again, and we need to find our support. We want this support coming into play for us again, and then we can start saying, okay, we can loosen up a bit and we can start getting a little bit more aggressive here. But right now, we're in a downtrend. You can see what's going on. BTC is now rejected at this trend, and we have to play this appropriately now. And just strategize. And luckily, I've got the legend in the back here as well, bringing some support. And there he is. And then I've also got head of likes hanging out in the back there. Don't see the AI.
Well, let's smash those things.
Smash the likes for Uncle Ray. Okay, let's go. Let's see what's going on in the news at the moment here. And I love this. Okay, so Tesla reveals that none of their $711 million worth of Bitcoin was sold in quarter one 2024. So the Tesla earnings came out, when was it? Last night. And they've also announced a new cheaper version, a cheaper car that they're going to be making. So guys are feeling pretty bullish on Tesla. And I would swear these Tesla market makers and Elon Musk, they must use fibs when they are trading, because look at this absolute epic move from Tesla. While they were dropping it down onto a 786 fib here on the weekly chart, what did they do? They said, unleash the fury, announce the 700 million we're still holding, announce a cheaper version of the car. Let's pump this thing on that 786 fib. So I'd swear these guys are watching the show, or they're trading 786 fibs here and 618. Very interesting. But we've had a nice bullish bounce for Tesla, and that's normally quite nice for the S&P. That normally gives it a nice little move. So we got to pay attention, even though that S&P did open up a little bit down today. So we're going to take a look at that one shortly. And then this Mt. Gox situation. I mean, is this a myth now? And, I can't actually understand how this thing sits around here and floating around. This news just hangs around us like the Chinese guys that were always looking to try and ban Bitcoin and do all these things in 2021. We're still dealing with this Mt. Gox situation. So they keep bringing this bearish vibe here to us. And we're talking about $9.4 billion in Bitcoin here, 72 million in Bitcoin cash. Bearish things floating around. Who knows when this thing is actually going to start playing out. And then I quite enjoyed Mr. Crypto over here. And he's talking about a couple of bullish things on Bitcoin. And he's saying this is the worst time to get shaken out of Bitcoin. And you pay attention to what this man is saying. Look at his nice little chart here, showing us a nice little support region. So we've got to hang on here. And his lows here are about 60K, 59K, that sort of level. So let's pay attention to these levels and see where we are. And just understand that we really need to hold on and be disciplined here and not give up on the current mission here with BTC. Okay. This is something I wanted to talk to you guys about, the Dixie. And this is coming into play more and more lately. We've noticed this currently now with the S&P. We've seen a nice correlation with Bitcoin as well coming into play. And the Dixie is something we need to start watching once again. And we've noticed today we've had a little bit of a Dixie pump here. This is the Dixie daily. And we've had a little bit of move higher now on the Dixie. And that has resulted in the S&P under a bit of pressure. And maybe that is now translated into crypto as well, feeling a little bit of heat. So what am I watching now on the Dixie? Well, to be fair, this Dixie is still looking relatively bullish. So there is a region higher up for me that I'm paying attention to. This is a big area now on the Dixie. And there's no reason why this thing shouldn't just track a little bit higher to this 107 region. So I'm watching this closely. And remember, if the Dixie is pumping, this is the dollar index. If the dollar index is pumping, it means people are taking their money out of risk assets and they're moving it into the US dollar. And that is not necessarily a good sign for us, for crypto traders and S&P traders. So look out for a Dixie pump. That could be a sign, that we're going to have a little bit more downside. So eyes on the Dixie, watch it at the moment. It's a bull flag. Anytime it turns red, we're going to see relief in these other markets. But every time it starts pumping and going green, we probably going to feel a little bit of heat there. So eyes on the Dixie. And if it does fall over, well, we need to pay attention. I did mention this one yesterday or a couple of days ago, that 104 region. If we start feeling relief in these markets and things are pumping, we can't get too euphoric when we are pushing the Dixie down into this 104 region, because we can see this is a major support area that can give us a big bounce and then put us under pressure. So constantly watch the Dixie. And that's another one that I like to watch, is obviously the BTC dominance, which I'm going to show you shortly. And just a little recap here, S&P, this is the weekly chart. And look, on the daily or on the 12-hour, we can see it has opened up a little bit bearish over here, and now it is rejecting. So we're looking at the S&P moving a little bit lower, and my target is still in play here, the 4,800. That is what I'm watching, and we should see that if the Dixie is pumping into those higher areas that I've just spoken about. So look out for something along those lines, and we'll have to just monitor Bitcoin as well, and as we go, and just make sure that we're paying close attention to our levels. Okay, here's BTC moving into our zone number 1. So we're going to pay attention to this, and look out for a little dip below this area as well, and a candle close above. So just pay attention here, and quite often we get a little dip into these regions and then they push it higher. So let's look out for something along these lines as step 1, maybe a little flush and then a pump higher. Alternatively, if they're going to send it lower, our next big zone that we're watching now today, and maybe it's going to happen now while we are live, we're looking at this 62k to 62,500. So let's see how that plays out. Okay, dominance, where did we start seeing pain today? So if you're trading altcoins, this is a great guide for you, and I've now zoned into dominance here on the 4 hour. Just to give you an example, I normally show you guys the weekly dominance chart, but this was very interesting to me. And if you were trading altcoins today in the last 6 to 8 hours, you would have seen this dominance was dumping and these altcoins were looking great. Things were moving well. We had AI pumping, we had WIF moving, we had BONK moving, and a lot of tokens were just looking good. They were freeing themselves up. And what did they do? The minute dominance came and started bouncing off the support region, we noticed that these altcoins started feeling a little bit of pressure, and we started giving up our gains, like my round trip that I'm having right now on Fetch. So it's quite frustrating at the moment. But again, this is why I always emphasize that you want to track your dominance with your altcoins all the time. And if BTC is bleeding down, you want to get this dominance chart out and make sure you are paying attention to your hot zones. So what do we do now if we're trading with or against dominance? Well, you want to look and try and find where your reaction zones are on dominance. And you can see we've had the one moving down now onto support. So that's triggered number 1. And where do we get our next relief? Well, potentially our next relief on altcoins could be at a move back into that resistance area on dominance. So look out for this region. If dominance does pump a little bit harder, look out for that relief when we reject or potentially reject at that resistance area. Okay, lots of action happening here. I'm going to keep closing those. Okay, so here's another interesting message here. Now, ETH traders, I got the best picture for you guys. I'm going to show you this thing. This ETH ETF thing is not going away. Okay, so this is 𝗦𝗘𝗙𝗢 or whatever his name is, but he says time for spot ETH ETF. They're starting to talk again. Changes are happening, and there's a bit of action in the market at the moment that we're going to be seeing. So this is my tweet earlier today. The SEC seeks public feedback on BlackRock. So the guys are talking. There's action in these zones, and things are certainly happening. So we don't really want to be giving up, this ETH potential pump here. And I'm just loving this look of this ETH BTC chart. And why did I like this so much? Because I saw this great message today from Victor. He's basically ripping us off. He's basically saying, we keep talking about this pump for ETH versus BTC, and it's never coming. And he's absolutely taking the piss now with what we are talking about, but you get it. You can see what we're looking at, and there's a lot of guys out there that are looking at this potential reversal, because we know that it's in the past, it's been a great guide for us for some of these altcoins. So paying close attention to this, and you can see this is the weekly chart, and it has turned a little bit green here at the moment. So there is a little bit of action here at the moment. So not all is lost. So we're going to watch this area for the potential bounce, and we're going to just pay attention to this ETF situation and see how things are going to play out. Maybe we're going to get that move now. If not, we're going to get our next bounce a little bit lower down. So again, we're going to track this thing, and we're going to be that dude in the picture. We don't have to be shy about it. I mean, I quite like this dude, right? You like this dude? I swear he's ripping us off. And what is Alex saying? He's saying Max Payne is where? Okay, guys, who's in the chats here, and what's going on? Let's see. ABD Mam says, Dylan, listen to what the audience wants. Dylan, we want the Solana news. I'm here for you guys with the Solana news. This is what it's all about. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And who's saying it's just clickbait? Sebi, bro, of course I'm going to talk about Sol. This is why we're here. And let's get into Sol for you guys. Let's do it. Let's jump the gun. Don't forget, I've got a massive Sol bag holder here, and I invited him. You see, I invited him especially for this momentous occasion. We're going to be talking about Solana, so I had to bring the legend here with me. And so what is the news? Well, we all know that Sol was absolutely wrecked over the last couple of days. It was absolutely smashed. And finally, things are getting sorted out. So Sol's congestion issues have been completely resolved. Okay, block production is now back to normal. Transactions are confirming in under 2 seconds. Haven't you noticed that you've been trading on Sol and doing all these things, and all of a sudden the network is moving and everything is moving sweetly once again for us? So things are definitely cooking over there. And the next thing here, this was Gumshoe, nice little tweet from Gumshoe. He's saying Solana season is so over, but he's actually joking, because he said the network issues are fixed. The TVL is up 20x year over year. We got BONK and cat memes exploding. Jupiter launches a mobile app. Sanctum TVL up 10x. D-Guard's coming back to Solana. I mean, read this man's tweet. There's a lot going up in Solana. And this was also beautiful. We've had a $9.6 million traded in 24 hours on the Solana NFT marketplace. I mean, there is action in Sol at the moment. And there was also another interesting tweet that we saw here. Let's just see if I can track this one. Let's see where this guy is. There was something about, oh yes, this was it, 138,000 new active wallets in the last 24 hours on Solana. Does this have anything to do with GUMMY? Potentially. I mean, how many of you guys were farming GUMMY, opening wallets, doing all these sorts of things? I wonder what percentage of the new wallets had to do with potentially GUMMY, perhaps. So look, 138,000 new active wallets in the last 24 hours on Sol. That can't be, that can't be sniffed at. That is a massive deal here. So it's for Solana. So basically what I'm saying is we're back. I mean, am I wrong, Bruce? We're so back.
Like, we are so back, and you know, I don't know if people realize, but the GUMMY drop throughout Banter and on Sniper Club was ridiculous. I mean, the average person inside Sniper Club made a little over $1,000 just on GUMMY, just on Solana.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, we gotta just commend Uncle Run here. He's also launched literally the cleanest meme coin in history that's ever been produced. It was the most transparent and like amazing launch, and we've got the amount of exchanges coming on board and all these things for GUMMY, and he's done this all for the community. And just Sniper Club guys, Bruce. I mean, and
FYI, for those of you who didn't see Rand's show the other day talking about his top 10 coins to hold for the bull run, Solana was either number 1 or number 2, and I totally think he's right on that.
He's not wrong. I mean, Sol, Sol's not going anywhere. The way we trade on Sol, the way, the way we do these meme coins, all these things, it's not going anywhere. And you guys know, obviously, it's the Legends favorite token, but you guys know, I love trading a little bit of Sol. So I thought, let's bring the legend on, because I'm talking about Sol, and I thought let's cover some Sol. So what I've got for you guys, I've got a weekly chart for you as well. I'm going to give you some areas of interest, and then I've got a dialed in chart for you. If we get a little pullback now, this is where you want to be looking. This is where you're looking for entries. Well, I certainly am going to be looking for entries on Solana. So number one, weekly Sol traders. Again, we cover this a lot, and we've watched these levels carefully. And if you remember, it was last week we had that massive dump into that region, and we were saying that these lows are going to be a massive marker now for the market. Was that the actual bottom? We were concerned, about these levels, and we had a beautiful pump. But we know they love to come back for a double bottom, and they pushed us down again. They put us under pressure, but again, Sol has held so well here on the 382 and horizontal. So for me, anything down to 128 on this weekly looks like a solid zone for me. That's a buy zone for me. So I mean, this is a spot bag.
I did my first purchase of Sol on this run at around $12, and I've been looking for a place to add on to that bag, and we finally got it. I know people were scared when the whole market was pulling back so deeply, but we entered some really good buy zones, and we're pretty darn close to it still.
So how do you know? Here's a question: how do you know when somebody bought Sol for $12? Because they tell you. Okay.
Go away.
Okay, so big level on the weekly. If you're trading Sol, you got spot bags, you got things like that. This is a massive area. Okay, so anything down, I mean, you can even push it. If you want to push 120 to 130, that area for me, that's a buy zone. That's a spot bag zone. That's where you're accumulating. If it goes lower, it goes lower. Okay, but if you want banger areas that could be the potential low of a move, that is your number. That is what you're looking at for SOL. And if you're a DCA buyer, that is your area hot zone number one that you are looking at. Okay, and this was quite exciting. So this is SOL on the 4 hour. We're getting a little pullback, and it's uncanny how SOL is tracked Bitcoin, and we've now seen the Bitcoin chart actually pushing down a little bit harder than SOL at the moment. So what I've done here, Bruce, is I've taken the lows from that dump on Bitcoin around April 17, and I've pulled a fib to the high. So just let's compare these two quickly. And here's our dump from, so when was this? This was the 19th of April from the lows to the high, and I've pulled a 382 in that region. So let's just confirm here. There's our 382. Okay, and we are now tracking down into that 382 for Bitcoin, and that's why that tells me that we might get a little bit more downside here on SOL. I'm looking for at least this 382 on Solana. So Bitcoin's almost at that 382. Let's see if we're going to get SOL on this 382 as well. So I'm watching this area closely for the scalpers there, for a trade setup and things like that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a buy in this region, a little bit lower down. So let's keep our eyes on this little zone here. We've got a trend, a rising trend. I've got a 382. I've got horizontals in play that look quite fun for me. And if they're really going to push us deeper, we will be looking at the 618. So that could be something along these lines. But that is where I'll be looking then for the bigger bounce or the main bounce on SOL. So these are my two hot zones. If you're looking for potential setups on SOL and you're wondering where you can enter and where's a good area to enter, well, it depends on the size of your leverage, obviously, and you have to be very greedy with your entries. And I like to look at these tight zones in these areas. So what I would suggest, if you're looking for scalps or you're looking to build a position, you've got to decide what your trade setup potentially looks like there, but you could have something along these lines if we're looking for bigger things. And you can have entry 1 in this region, look for a little buy there. You can have entry 2 a little bit lower down and start building a little SOL position. And loss of the 618 sometimes tells us that we're going to see a little bit more downside. So that could be a nice guide for you. Or alternatively, you can look for buys on SOL at around about this 147, 148 region. You can try and clip a buy in that area and see if that trade plays out. If you start losing, let me zoom in here for you. If you start losing this 382 region, so let's say you start losing 146, then there's a chance that you're potentially going to visit the 140 region. So as a leverage trader, you can either then step out of the trade, or you can then add to your position down to about 140 and then look for that 618 bounce. So that's the play, or that's the strategy that I'm looking at the moment. And you can see I'm employing that currently in my BTC. In my BTC trade. So that is what I'm watching now at the moment. Let's see if I'm going to get my buy picked up here on BTC, and then we'll plan it accordingly. If we start losing that level, then we need to start jumping ship and readjusting how we're going to play things. Okay, so there, everyone in the chats, are you satisfied with the SOL news? Hopefully. I saw they were getting quite...
I know. So impatient. I love it.
Jelani likes 61,250 by Friday. Let's take a look. Ripple Muncher says the US market really ruined my vibe. Yeah, I agree. It totally ruined my vibe. It gave me a round trip on Fetch. I got absolutely smashed. I felt very smart earlier. Here's my Fetch trade. Well, if it's going to open. I'm underwater on Fetch. Now, this thing was green AF earlier today. And here I am now. It's turned red. So I've done a round trip. I'm just waiting for this chart to load. But let's actually pull the Fetch chart up as a guide here for us. And let's talk through this trade, because you guys are going to feel my pain, because I felt some pain today with that round trip. Let's see if it was on. There it is. Okay. Here we go. I mean, like, absolutely round tripped us there. Whoever traded Fetch, okay, you got, they sent us down the river there. So we had a nice pump. Okay. We had a nice little squeeze. And what have they done now? They've blown through the horizontal. So I love that. Okay. We popped through the horizontals. We even broke the 50-day MA. Okay, we were getting very excited there, and now they've completely reversed it. So what are we looking at now? What is my strategy? Well, I'm sitting in this position, and you can see what's going on here. I've got a rising trend in place, so I'm not exiting just yet. Okay, I'm monitoring the situation. Yeah, I've got to decide now soon, what my play is going to be. But these are my areas of interest that I'm going to be watching. So I've got a rising trend. If I start losing this rising trend, yes, we could start looking a little bit lower. So what I do is then I'd start highlighting big areas or big zones, where you could start exiting. And another big area for me, if you're trading fetch, so another big area for me, if we lose this current region, this 2.43, if we close below this 2.43, the next cuttable zone or the next decent zone for me is 2.35 as an exit point. So it depends how much pressure you're going to be put under on a trade. Depends what you're comfortable with and, where you're happy exiting. But those are the two main options that I am watching currently. But I mean, who doesn't love a round trip on a Wednesday?
I know. It's
7% up. Send it straight back down.
Mm-hmm.
No, these guys, come on.
Welcome to our life.
Okay, so guys, yeah, that's the trading vibe. A little bit of a round trip, never hurt anybody. Gives us a little bit of a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. Scott says Fetch is going to bounce back. Look, that is my intention with Fetch. I was looking for this the bigger move higher up. So let's see. Let's see how it plays out. Okay. What I want to talk to you guys about as well, and Bruce, hang around if you want to.
I'm here.
Who was watching this HBAR drama? Okay, play out. So basically, did you know what happened with HBAR?
No, I don't actually.
So these guys basically went ahead, something along these lines. Okay, I stand to be corrected, but this is basically what these guys did. They went ahead and tokenized BlackRock's assets or something without really telling them, or whatever the story. There wasn't like consensus or an agreement to it, and they just went ahead and they made this like big announcement and that they've done this whole thing, and they basically pumped their own bags, and HBAR pumped with it. I mean, so I don't know if there was some kind of plan there, or they were selling things or whatever the story was, but basically what we understand is like it wasn't like a handshake or a proper agreement between the two. They just went ahead and did this thing and made the announcement. So
yeah, I saw the chart yesterday, but I had no clue why it did that thing and then retraced immediately. So
yeah, so as it turns out, they weren't that, honest about the situation. So, okay, let's see. Does that mean it's the end of HBAR? Not necessarily. Maybe they're going to wangle some PR there and just explain it a little bit differently, and maybe it's going to hold some of these levels. But, I mean, the minute a token mentions BlackRock, and, look at this. You say the word BlackRock, you get 106% pump. Okay, so that is, that is interesting. That definitely pumps your bags if you have the balls to go and make an announcement like that. So HBAR pumped 100%. What has it done? It's now ripped back down. We've lost some levels. Okay, that's interesting for us here. So we've lost that region there. And now, what are we going to watch? Well, we've got to watch the 618. We've got to watch the 50-day moving average. If somebody says to me, do you want a long HBAR? Yeah, I would say absolutely not. Especially after this news. Okay, so the news pumped, it's dumped. Where would I look again? Well, for me, it's got to be lower, 0.108. It's got to be this region down here at the 618, 50-day MA, that sort of thing. So for me, HBAR traders, if you're watching, call it 0.11. You could probably get away with something there, some kind of bounce. I think they'll be finished with the saltiness by the time.
Funny. I mean, it's still retained 50% of that pump. I mean, look at where it started.
I'm very surprised.
Up in there. It's like,
I'm very surprised. And what is Jelani saying? Jelani saying Uncle Run said don't buy yet. Yes. Guys, be very careful, obviously. Okay, so watch your levels. Okay, we all that's where Nettie says we're going back to the depths of hell. Watch your levels closely, okay? And we know our reaction zones, and this is why I always mark these reaction zones. So number one, you can see why I call it a reaction zone, because we're getting a reaction in this area. It doesn't mean it's the end of a move, but this is just a prime example for you guys as to why I like these hot zones and these areas, and that's why I plan my trades around these zones, because I know that I get some kind of reaction in there, and it gives me something to work with, something to play with. So let's keep watching, as we continue here and see what's going on. Okay, then what I wanted to touch on here was an update on WIF for you guys from yesterday and BONK. So BONK, you guys were shouting at me yesterday, telling me to talk about BONK, and I actually didn't. And I spoke about WIF, Pepe, Doge, a couple of others. I think we did PopCat, and BONK was the dark horse. BONK came and surprised us all, but so I'm going to cover BONK for you shortly. But just a recap on WIF, and right now we are doing with WIF what we wanted to see on Fetch. Okay, so we had that push up, and now we're looking for the retest, and we're looking for this to hold now. So this was the typical move we wanted on Fetch. We wanted that pump up, we wanted that retest of support, and then we want to send it higher. So right now WIF seems to be playing the role that we were looking for, and listening to us a little bit here. So if you are looking for an entry here on WIF, you can start fiddling around in this region. You can see we got a reaction now. Well, Bitcoin is reacting. We've got horizontals, and something is definitely going on here for Fetch. So I want to mark out at this level for you as a support level that you can be watching right now. And then a little bit lower down, let me highlight the next one of interest for you guys. You want to pay attention to this horizontal a little bit lower down. Okay, and then we've got the 50-day MA. So if we lose the 50-day MA, then I'd say, this market is looking pretty dark and dangerous again. And maybe we shouldn't be playing around in it if we start losing those type of levels. So the areas you're watching for WIF right now, 3.2, you're looking at 3.1, and then you're looking at 2.88. Okay, these are the hot zones. These are the nice support regions that should offer you some kind of reaction here on any downside. And let's track what is going on. At some point, you might find that we start getting a little downtrend here on WIF, and perhaps a little flag, something along these lines, and then you're going to be looking for that break at any point in time. So pay attention, look out for some kind of consolidation here. Maybe if the market's going to slow down a bit, we might get something along these lines, and then you can try and nip little entries on WIF on these big support zones and these areas of interest. And remember, very notable here, WIF has broken a trend, and it broke the trend nicely, and nothing wrong with a little retest and a move lower down. So if it does pull back a little bit, that's also perfectly acceptable here. So just manage your leverage, manage your risk, how you are playing this thing, obviously. Okay. What else? I saw KSM. I see Klaxman has mentioned DOT here, but I noticed today KSM was getting absolutely wrecked as well. So if anyone knows what happened there with KSM, it wasn't looking great earlier. Do you still trade KSM, Bruce?
I have trouble believing Kusama is still alive. I don't get the DOT parachain thing, what they're doing nowadays. So maybe I'll understand one day. It doesn't make sense given the way the market's moved and grown over the last year.
Yeah, so it's not something I don't touch that much at all. I see there's a comment from who was this now? Talking about RWAs. I've lost the comment. Okay, I've lost the comment, but yeah, RWAs, are we still early? Yes, you are massively early on RWAs. They've got a long journey ahead of them. They're quite a new narrative, so nothing wrong with that stuff. See, Ray likes that too. Oh, there's Logan there. RWAs are undervalued, and he's going hashtag still early. But yes, 100% right. It's a new narrative. Like, this could be the one for the next cycle. These things could really start moving, and that's things like Ondo that you're looking at. You're looking at RIO, which is a Relio network. There's tons. I mean, we cover it a lot on my show, and Rodolfo is always good at giving me some of those to play with. So we will tackle another RWA session, that's for sure. Okay, this is BONK. A little update on BONK. Nice little pump here. In fact, a massive pump relative to the other ones, and I mean 34% or something. Bruce, this thing ripped. So yeah, what am I looking at now? Well, you can see we've got a nice little picture here for BONK playing out at the moment. Look at that nice little support band here. We've got the 50-day MA also offering some support in this region, and I mean, it played out to perfection the way it rejected at that range higher, that horizontal, and these are the type of zones we look for. So big area now for BONK. If you are looking for an entry on BONK, push anything down into this 50-day MA. So that's multiple zeros, 2-4. So look out for that region. That's the range low. Okay, so if we're trading this range move, we're looking at that 50-day MA, and then we do have a little bit of a backup here with the 382 fib holding you up at about 23. So yeah, I mean, potentially it depends where they end this dump. It depends when they get tired of dumping us on Bitcoin, really. So we must just be cautious. We must just play accordingly. And remember, if Bitcoin is now in a confirmed downtrend after that rejection off that trend, then these alts could be forming some kind of flag and could be in the downtrend of their own. So look out, for something like this on some of these altcoins. We could start seeing this picture over the next few days. This could be playing out. So definitely on the cards now. Definitely on the cards. Scott says INJ is holding. I'm a favorite, one of my favorites. INJ, love that thing. Let's see what else we got. Kluxman is really asking about DOT. He must be a big DOT fan. Okay, let's give him DOT. Come, let's give him DOT. Do you have DOT, Bruce? Why did you do DOT?
I used to do DOT a lot. Like I said, I just don't get what they're doing now. So I'll trade DOT some duns, but I'm not holding any.
Prep the chart for Klaxman here.
Sure.
Give us your view. Okay, so guys, the LinkedIn will give us a view. He'll give us a view. He'll give us a view on DOT. Okay, so Bruce is going to fiddle around there. Then I've got something else for you guys that is interesting to me. And number one is this Hong Kong Bitcoin ETF. It's a Bitcoin and ETH ETF, okay, officially approved to begin trading on April 30th. Now, remember what happened when the BTC ETF got approved in the States? What did we have? We had that initial sell-off, but soon after, when they started trading, things started churning and things started moving. Obviously, this market is not as big, or potentially not as big as the US market, but we do expect some kind of action here from around about the 30th of April. So another hint, like, let's not get shaken out of Bitcoin on another pullback, because it makes sense to me that they might want to send us down a little bit lower just to grab some more liquidity down there, make us feel a little bit more pain before this thing goes live, because we know that this could bring some money into the system again. So pay attention to this Hong Kong Bitcoin and ETH ETFs, okay? So watch out for that. And there was another theory, okay, that this could potentially ignite a couple of other things, like some Chinese tokens, okay? So hear me out. I mean, we know it's a Bitcoin and ETH ETF, but does that ignite the crypto market, on the Chinese side of things? Bruce, I don't know if you have an opinion on that. I just think it's worth looking at a couple of Chinese tokens here, just in case something happens in the next week. So look, I've got two here for you guys. Number one, I've got CFX. Okay, that's an old favorite. We've traded this thing tons of times, and they announced recently. They announced some interesting news. I think they were becoming a Bitcoin layer 2 or something, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that came out. There was a big announcement, and there was a little bit of pumpage about it. I'm not sure entirely what it was all about, but there was some serious CFX pumpage. Anyway, that's besides the point. If we're looking at a Chinese narrative and we're looking at areas of interest for potential pumpage on Chinese tokens, if this ETF is going to play out for us, I would say the first thing you want to look at, or just your zone of interest, number one, it's quite clean here. It's 0.228 on CFX. This is great area for me. It's the 200-day moving average. It's horizontal supports here, and it's a rising trend in play for us. So look out here for CFX, the 0.228. Any moves down into that area, I would say you can start nibbling on a position here if you believe, okay, that this ETF might ignite a little bit of Chinese action. So take a look at CFX. There could be an area of interest. This 200-day MA seems to be holding okay so far. We've had a few reactions on it. Look at that. Bang over there. Bang again. And here we go. So 0.228. Watch that zone. Could be something. Johnny says, is CRV dead? Look, I think DeFi in general took a bit of a hiding with this uni news. And so Uni got sued. Uni got sued by the SEC. Okay, so I think people are just a little bit cautious on DeFi. So I mean, it's not dead. I would say it's not dead. Silver Colt says CFX sounds too similar to FTX.
There's that.
Okay.
So I have DOT and Filecoin. If you'd like to look at those,
give us some DOT. Let's do DOT. And and Bruce has got a nice Filecoin. Let me add your chart here.
And actually, they're very, very similar. You'll see that. Matter of fact, you're going to see this across the board on a lot of tokens. So I hadn't charted DOT in a while. Basically, like everything else, we had that big pullback that lasted for a while, came down, found support at around 6.19 that region over there, wicked around for a while, consolidated in this region, basically broke back through that resistance level right there at 6.87 or so. You can see a clean break right there. Came back to a little retest right on the 50-day moving average, pumped up, and then with this pullback today, is pulling right back to the 50-day moving average, right? And the trend line right there, and support, and the Fib 382. And the stochastic RSI went into oversold and has just started to turn back up. So if you're looking for a trade on DOT and you think the market's going to hold this level, you're kind of in a good position right now. You know, again, just like Dylan said, we may not be done with this little flush out. So do not be surprised if you get into this trade and you get stopped out. I would put my stop right below that trend line. I wouldn't give it much room at all. And then be prepared to then look for a better entry down around the Fib 618 area. But as it stands right now, if you're feeling a little bullish about the next move, not bad.
Look, classic setup based on BTC holding this current 382 bounce. So, you know, I'm still expecting a little push lower here on BTC, one more proper touch into this 382, but, you know, maybe put a bit of pressure on the alts, but that could be a nice little entry. And then such a clean exit. Use really that trend. Clean invalidation there. And
I always, for me, the number one consideration in a trade is a clean exit, right? Because you're right or you're wrong. And if you're wrong, you want to get out with as small a loss as possible. So when it's got that setup like that, that's always attractive to me because they can keep the risk contained. And you'll also notice that Filecoin is virtually identical to it. Matter of fact, Filecoin, Ling, Phantom, Sol, very, very similar. Sol needs to pull back a little further. But I was preparing charts to come with you today. And in Sniper Club, one of our illustrious moderators, George, she posted this chart and it was like clean as can be, right? Got a beautiful trend line. It tickled it for the third time. Again, right at the 50-day moving average. I'm sorry, that's the 200-day moving average, sorry. Right at a horizontal level, right after a long consolidation, break, retest, clean as can be, and right at 382. And the RSI had just turned up from oversold to coming back up, moving upward.
Okay, so look, potentially some good entries here coming, and we can see our next level. Our next level is going to be the 618 lower down. You got clear horizontals there in that region. So yeah, there's your next zone.
Very confirmed support right there. So I wouldn't worry about it. It stopped out here. Get out.
So if you guys want to learn about trading, okay. The legend sits in the Sniper Club. We've got mods in there that are also trained. We've got excellent traders in the Sniper Club as well. A lot of the people in the chats here today are some of the best traders that I've seen floating around Sniper Club. Come hang out with the community. The legend is there. Sheldon and I are there. Simon is there. DJ and David is there. It's all going down. We're doing airdrops. We're doing Sniper. We're doing signals. We're doing my chart setups, my daily watch list. It's all happening for you guys, and we had a massive announcement today for our Sniper Club members, but we'll reveal more as we go along. But there's a lot of airdrops and special deals coming, especially for Sniper Club members, exclusively for the Sniper Club members. So if you want to know more, come jump in the link in the description. Okay, come hang out with us at Sniper Club. We also do multiple live trading sessions for you guys. All these things you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn. You see all the stuff on the charts. Come speak to the men and the ladies in Sniper Club, and they're going to sort you out. Bruce, thanks for hanging. Thanks for hanging.
You're very welcome.
I'm loving that. Okay, guys, let's take one more look here at this current BTC situation. So just to summarize what I'm looking at here, what I'm looking for, I still want to see a little move into this zone, this 382. I want to see this 382 get put under pressure here before we get a bounce. Other than that, we're looking a little bit lower. The 62K for me then is the next in line for us. So if things start turning dark and dangerous, mark these levels on your charts. Pay attention. The 62K could be the next hot one. Look, it was a horrible candle. You can see there was a deep red candle, not a good look. And I mean, I see somebody in the chats just now. I missed the name. I think it was Zahara, basically sending us to zero there, telling us BTC is going to 56K, I think, or it was 52. I can't find that comment there at the moment. But yeah, so there's a lot of opinions out there at the moment. What we can do is just watch our levels, play our areas, and be patient. Let's not overtrade. Let's not get too pumped. And we just watch it. We monitor it. When Bitcoin turns bullish again, we're gonna know about it. You're gonna know about it, and the time will be right then to really start aping in. So just be patient. Let these things do what they need to do. We watch our areas, and tomorrow's another day. We're gonna see how everything is gonna play out tomorrow, guys. Catch you later.